Hi everybody, welcome back. So there are a few points that I would like to emphasize now that you've done the readings that I've asked you to do for Monday, the readings and the primary sources specifically about ancient Rome. The first main point is that I told you how at the foundation of medieval Europe lies Roman culture and Roman traditions. But what lies at the bottom of this Roman culture? The use and abuse of women. We saw that with the myth of Europa. After all, she is raped. We also saw that in the story of the rape of Lucretia, another primary source that I've asked you to read for Monday. Now, the rape of Lucretia is a very, very important story in European tradition for centuries. During the Middle Ages as well as during the Renaissance, Europeans explained the transition of Rome from a monarchy to a republic by referring to this story, to the story of the rape of Europa. And the transition from a monarchy to a republic is a positive transition in the European psyche. So this very positive political political transition really relies on the foundation of the rape and the abuse of a woman, Lucretia. Now, what are the main points of this story that I've asked you to read, the rape of Lucretia? The first one of you to send me an email with a one-paragraph description in your own words of the main points of the story will get a 1 point extra credit for your final grade. So again, email, one-paragraph description in your own words of the main points of the story. I'm waiting for these emails. But there is one point that I would like to make about this story, and this is the very end of the story where the men take the body of the dead Lucretia and they kind of parade it around Rome. They show it around Rome. And the question is, why do they do that? Well, we know that they do that in order to inspire anger in their fellow Romans, right? They have a political purpose. They want to exile the kings and establish a monarchy. But for our case, what's interesting here is the instrumentalization of the female bodies, how the female body is being instrumentalized for political goals. The story of the foundation of the Roman Republic, of the famous Roman Republic, has at its very core the sexuality of a woman, her rape, and then the abuse and the commodification of her body. So I want you to see that there's a pattern here, right? If we look at the rape of Europa and then the rape of Lucretia, there's a pattern here for what are the foundational stories that lie at the base, at the core of European culture. So these myths that I've asked you to read, these stories, are not merely fiction that we should just take, at face value. They are fantasy, they're imaginative. No, they're actually really, really important as primary sources because they tell us something about that culture, because they tell us how a specific culture perceived itself. And specifically these foundational myths that were consumed enthusiastically for centuries by European culture tell us a lot about what that culture deems important and significant. Now, the second point that I would like to emphasize to you is the importance of men in this society, in European society. And it's not only men, it's not just all men have more power than women. That's, we should take that for granted. But it is the importance of mature old men in this society. And this is the nature of patriarchy. When you hear the term patriarchy, it doesn't mean only to the fact that men have the power. It means that a certain class of men have the power, specifically men that are patriarchs, from the Latin pater, father. So we're talking about either literal fathers that have control and power within the small domain of their families, or we're talking about father figures, rulers that are like fathers to their subjects, and they are the one that are at the axis of all relations of power in that society. So this is what happens in Rome and henceforth in the Middle Ages. Which brings us to the third point that I would like to make, and that is that I hope you noted when you were doing the readings how important the concept of old is, O-L-D, old. You could specifically see that in the Opian law. Everything that is old is trusted. Why? Because it was tested by time. So old traditions, old laws, stuff from the past are good. What is suspect is the new. New things are suspected because they haven't been tested by time, because they might be just dangerous, potentially dangerous. So very different from our own modern perception of old versus new. In our modern culture, new has a very positive associations, right? Associations of creativity, originality, positive energies. But this is not the case when we're looking at Roman society, and definitely as well when we're looking at the Middle Ages. It will change a little bit when we move to the Renaissance in the 16th century. And then finally, the last point that I would like you to notice, and that I would like to emphasize from the readings, is the importance of hierarchy in Roman society. And again, this is a concept and a perception of society that the Middle Ages will definitely inherit from Roman culture. So the position of women in that society, the importance of the old, the importance of tradition, and the importance of hierarchy, all of these can be viewed in the primary source on the Opian law that I've asked you to read. Again, as always, if you have any questions, please post them on the ungraded forum for questions for the instructor. If these are questions about the primary sources, and of course personal matters, please feel free to email me. Okay, bye, until next time.